there, and welcome to the DOH Show, Canada's Drag Race, Season 1, Episode 4 review. I'm Ferris Fair.
And I'm Bambi Dextrous, and we have another full episode for you today. It was another busy episode with the queens reacting to Anastasia's elimination.
Exactly. Tainomi was not happy that she was in the bottom, and she promised that she was never going to be in the bottom again. Wait, I feel like I've said that before. And Tainomi is feeling inspired, and she is not going to be in the bottom again.
Also, Priyanka realized that all the queens eliminated so far have been from Ontario.
No, and more of the inner drama between the Toronto queens came up, and Rita Baga pointed out that this is not Toronto's drag race, this is actually Canada's drag race, and the Toronto queens need to wake up and realize that there is some competition out there outside of their city's borders.
That's right, it's not just Toronto's drag race. It's also lacking representation from the prairies, the Maritimes, and the Northwest Territories.
Coming up next, we return to northern Saskatchewan with Chelazon Leroux.
Hey everybody, it's Chelazon Leroux. Let's talk Drag Race Canada for a minute. This week's episode is very intense, very emotional. I enjoy the fact that these girls are just letting it all hang out, so to speak. I mean, the fact that this whole episode is filled with drama from start to finish is like, oh my god, amazing. So entertaining to watch as a viewer, and like, let's be real, it's reality TV, so like, of course it's like a little bit much, but we stand. Second thing I want to talk about, the judges. Baby girl, I don't know if we're gonna need the same judges next season, because it seems a little unfair. I mean, the comment by Jeffrey Bory Chapman where it's like, manage your time better. Like, how... I was so pissed off because, like, how dare you sit there and judge these girls when you've never done drag yourself? Anyways, point being, we need better judges. That's all.
Thank you so much, Chelazon.
Stacey McKenzie entered the workroom next for the mini challenge, and it was a RuPaul classic. Let's guess the underwear under the pit crew's shorts.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. You've got to find a matching pair. And the cross-spectrum of Canadian hotties was out in full display.
Everybody seemed to have fun in their mini challenge looking at the pit crew. However, three in particular stood out as potential winners, and those were Jimbo, Kiara, and Tainomi doing well in the memorization challenge, with Jimbo taking the win.
Yes, congratulations to Jimbo on, I believe, their first challenge win.
Yeah, I believe so.
What was up next was the Maxi Challenge, and they had to quickly form groups, and they just together with the three that were beside each other for each one of them.
Yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a cop-out. Like, they just formed their own teams based on how they were standing in the line. Maybe that was done so that Ilona wouldn't be picked last again.
Stacey McKenzie then let Jimbo know that he had to assign the materials to the groups. Paper, plastic, and metal. It was a recycling redo on Canada's Drag Race.
Jimbo chose the paper material for her team, which consisted of Tainomi and Ilona, and they went with the team name Maison Papier.
The plastic team consisted of Scarlett Bobo, Kiara, and Rita Baga, and they came up with the interesting idea of combining all three names in kind of a Rodlaska Talks idea with La Maison Boraga.
With the metal material was the House of Rust, with Lemon, Priyanka, and Boa.
Stacey McKenzie took each of the groups and worked with them on their runway walk. The favorite from the paper team seemed to be Jimbo. She really liked Priyanka from the metal team, and she was a huge fan of Kiara from Team Plastic.
The guest host this week was fashion designer Bidell. I thought he did an alright job at hosting, actually.
Yeah, no, I thought he was fine. I hate to say it, I'm still missing week 1, but whatever, everybody's done a great job. This week's runway look was single-use queens, and to me, the entire thing was pretty much a dumpster fire.
This challenge, I didn't hate it. I didn't. I thought it was very creative having the queens make garments completely from scratch out of unconventional materials, and with the final results on some of them, it looked quite good on them. Some of the judges' main critiques on some of them were it wasn't polished enough, there wasn't enough finishing touches, but it could have been a whole lot worse when you're creating something from scratch.
And it was a throwback again to one of the RuPaul originals and stuff, so I get that. But yeah, to me, and some of them even commented it themselves, it looked like garbage. Well, yeah, it was garbage. Anyway, first team out was the plastic team.
Yes! Rita Bega was so good in this challenge. I love that they incorporated that construction fencing, that orange plastic, in their looks. And every single one of them had that look in there to make it cohesive. And I thought Rita Bega just looked so polished that she was clearly the winner of this challenge.
They definitely had the most cohesive look between the three of them, I will say that. Scarlett came out first and she looked okay, and then Kiara came out next and she looked okay, and then Rita came out and I was just like, oh girl, that's cool.
Yeah, took the same materials that the other girls had, but somehow made it better.
And again, as they said themselves, that's that club kid history.
The next team to hit the runway was the metal team, the House of Rust. Starting off with Boa, and she had these strainer titties, the strainer bra.
Yet again with the gag.
Yes. The judges read her for having yet another gag on the runway. Priyanka was out next, and I was worried that the judges might read her. I didn't like her garment as much as some of the others.
It was definitely simple.
But the judges gave her praise and admiration, and I just thought that the top part of the dress part looked unfinished and a little bit... There was something going on with this bust area that didn't look very finished. That being said, the judges really loved her, and I'm glad that Priyanka is safe for another week. Next up was Lemon. Lemon had taken Brillo pads and made a garment out of them. Very unconventional material, but made it look like a conventional dress.
Yeah, and their kind of recurring theme they had was just the wire from an old umbrella. Each one of them kind of had that out. But other than that, and each of their materials coming from metal, there was no real cohesiveness, and it was one of the things that the judges did call them out on.
Yes. Lemon, one of the things she was worried about going into this runway was, if you remember from episode 1, they had to make their own outfits, and she didn't do very well on that. I think Lemon was worried about that and really stepped up her game on this design challenge.
But again, they even called her and said that they should have done more, that they expected more from Lemon and that she should have actually gone the further mile. It was fairly simple.
More cohesion. They definitely mentioned more cohesion between Lemon, Priyanka, and Boa. Like, if you had even just used similar color palettes, then I feel like they would share the same story.
Yeah, or using some of the material on each of the others' outfits.
Yeah, there needs to be more cohesion because it did look like 3 very separate designs.
Yep.
Finally, the last team to hit the runway was Maison Papier, Jimbo, Tainomi, and Ilona Verley.
It was paper. This one was kind of interesting because it seemed like there was an idea of what they were going to do, and then Jimbo decided to take a left turn and make something that was not in that vision. And on one hand, I get that. This is a competition and everything else, but it somewhat left the other two treading water. Unfortunately, they didn't decide to do something equally fantastic. They decided to...
They played into the concept. They became knights to go along with Jimbo's princess, and didn't make something that was unique to them.
So Jimbo ended up looking pretty fantastic, and they looked pretty plain and costumey.
Yes, they were definitely read for their costumey looking outfits, and Ilona was very taken back by that. Like, going into, have you seen fashion magazines? Have you seen this? Have you seen what's on the runway? I felt like a very defensive answer. Mind you, they did really go into Ilona, and they went into her. So she had a very defensive response, which I could see.
They are in week 4 at this point, and they are definitely not kissing as much ass, I will say that.
True.
From each of the teams and each of the people, they had something to say that wasn't all like, oh, you did fabulous.
Yeah.
So this was maybe a little bit of a wake-up call. So.
I know, like, we can go back to Boa on the runway. They saw that Boa brought her personality, brought her quirks, but that isn't cutting it so much. So.
Well, and they said that gag after gag after gag, they want her to bring some high couture.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get it that they're looking for more now, and it was
They're
the same
starting
thing
to
with
see
Jimbo.
past.
Jimbo had a good look, but they said like we're looking for more. Like it was unfinished and the makeup wasn't done, and a few other things. So yes, it was. Really, the judges were fairly harsh this week, but
They were harsh.
I think it was a good thing because I honestly feel like they have been kissing far too much.
They were so Canadian in the
They were.
first weeks, like we're skating by on the
Yeah.
skin of our teeth.
Sorry about it.
But now that things are getting real, there's been a few eliminations. They're starting to go in deep with these girls, and we're starting to see a bit more teeth come out.
Exactly.
Up next, we're going to Halifax, Nova Scotia to hear from Aurora Borealass.
Hi, I'm Aurora Borealass, and we're reviewing episode 4 of Canada's Drag Race. Now, I have to say about those looks. Everybody was shit-talking the plastics, only for them to actually win the challenge. And I have to say, Rita Baga looked the best. Like, very Montreal. Like, I was very into it, and I was like, like, it took my breath away. I loved it. The other thing, the metal one, it wasn't cohesive, but I absolutely loved Priyanka and Lemon's outfits. But again, like, they weren't matchy-matchy, and like, that's the challenge. So if you're not doing that, then like, what are you doing? And the one that breaks my heart is the paper, because I loved it. I love color. I know it was costume and not couture, but I loved it. They had a storyline, and I just thought that was so, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and it breaks my heart because both Iona and Tayonomi looked fantastic. And like Jimbo also looked really good, but I feel like maybe if they had edited it a little bit, like especially with that big dress, then maybe they would have won the challenge. And then Tayonomi and Iona lip synced to Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend, which is like honestly my favorite song ever. So it was a good episode. Like 10 out of 10.
Thank you, Aurora. It's always great to get your hot take. In one of the most intense moments of Canada's Drag Race so far, a few of the queens were having a breakdown in the workroom after the critiques. It was definitely interesting to see Ilona and Tayonomi and a few others crumble, really, in front of the other queens. And there were some pointed jabs between Jimbo and Ilona and a few others. But I think it was all just coming from people's feelings being hurt and their art being critiqued.
Yeah, we saw some cracks in Ilona early this week. I think some of these past events, like being picked last in challenges, is catching up with her, and we are seeing the cracks start to form. And sadly, Ilona was in the bottom this week with Tayonomi.
When the bottom two were announced, Ilona Verley wasn't sure they were even going to be able to continue. But the other queens ramped up their energy and were able to convince them to go out there and do it. And do it, they did. The moment Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend hit, Ilona hit that stage ready to fight.
Yeah, that was so interesting, like Ilona being like, I can't. It would be like you and I being in a competition together and be like, I can't send Ferris home, like I can't do it, I won't do it.
Excuse me, it's mine!
And then turn around and be like, and then, you know, like, I felt like that was so television, or that was so
It
produced.
was good TV. Tayonomi didn't quite seem to get out of the gate as quickly, but as soon as she realized that she was in a race, girl started to go. And yeah, it was pulling out some amazing moves and fun, but it was a little bit
In the
too
second
late.
half.
Yeah, it was a little bit too late, and they had already made their decision, and Ilona was the one to stay. So after 3 strikes, Tayonomi Banks struck out.
What did you think about this week's episode? Did the right person go home? Like and comment below.
What did you think of the runway? Did you agree with Bambi that it was some amazing works of art? Or did you agree with me that it was a giant dumpster fire? Comment below and let us know what you thought. The preview for next week shows that we are ready for Canada's first Snatch Game, and I, for one, cannot wait to see which Canadian icons hit the stage.
Do you agree with our opinions on this episode? Comment below, like, subscribe, do all those things at Dragging Our Heels.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.